Welcome to Deep Thought. The environment will create lifestyle changes. And this is very important to consider because if you think about how we live our lives like every day, how do we entertain ourselves? Where do we live? Where do we live? Where do we shop at? Where do we work? How do we entertain ourselves? How do we behave in certain areas? All of that's affected by the overall environment. You know, it's interesting because you have different groups of maybe sociologists, researchers who try to examine the behavior of people, both professionally and, commenters on just regular people. They say, well, why they behave like that? You got to look at the environment. What environment are they in? Let me use an example. And I remember this from years ago. And in fact, this used to be something within the Black community. When you have a kid who's doing real bad and they might be in an urban environment and they're doing real bad and getting into trouble. And their relatives and their family, even their mother and father, or usually just their mother, would, because it might be a single mother, would see the problem and they would send the child down south. I'm not sure how much that's happening now, but they would send them someplace different and their behavior would change. And people would say, well, what changed? Really, it wasn't so much what was in them, it's the environment that they're in. When you look at how people behave in a poor neighborhood, like a rough neighborhood where they could get robbed, attacked, assaulted, is totally different from how someone behaves in an affluent neighborhood. I'll use the example of women. A woman in a poor area, in a rough area, she got to have a certain amount of hardness. If you look at lower class women, and when I say class, I mean as far as the economic class, they have a certain hardness, preparedness, how they look around and everything. That's because they have to be on guard. They could literally get raped. All right. So that's one. But then if you look at women from a rich, affluent environment, they're very carefree. They are very carefree. And even with the men who I've seen that men who grew up in a rich, affluent environment, safe. They don't have to worry about being jumped or robbed or anything. Tend to not pay attention to their surroundings. They just do their thing. May even develop some arrogance. Whereas a man who grew up in a rough environment he will keep his head on a swivel. Now, those are just examples. Now, I'm talking about the overall environment now because I pay attention to it. Like a big thing that's happening are rents going up. Rents are going up like significantly because especially in areas that lack rent control. Rents are going up. You having more foreclosures. That creates a certain environment. Like in Baltimore. Now, I haven't been to this area in Baltimore in a few years. I haven't had a reason to drive down there, but you had rows of homes that were just empty for years. I haven't been around there recently to see what's going on, but of course it was a rough neighborhood. That was the environment. That was just a simple environment. When you have the inflation, you have supply chain shortages. You have so much going on. That changes the environment. It changes the lifestyle. Okay, for example, the other day, I had to fill up on my car, and I had to fill up the gas on my car. It was like $5 a gallon, and that's because I use premium. I use the highest gas. And, car's still in good shape. I'd rather just do that. That's just me. And fortunately, it wasn't a problem, but I thought about how that would affect someone else. especially if they had to drive to work, commute every day. How would that affect how they live their lives? What they did for fun? What kind of food would they buy? How they bought food? That starts affecting your lifestyle because every piece counts. Every piece counts. I remember during a downtime, because I've said publicly, particularly on my money channel, there's been some down moments for Rom financially. And I remember how going from, could travel all over the country and everything to having to really plan just traveling across the city and stuff just because of money. It affects how you live and everything because the environment is changing. The environment is changing. When I go to a local mall and everything, and most of the stores are empty. Most of the stores are there. That affects that environment. How does that affect other businesses? See, it's so many things. See, one thing touches something else. Like, let me use the mall example again. My local mall, it had a Sears there. One of the things that helped bring in people was the Sears there. Now they're building something else right there at the moment. But when the Sears was there, you got a decent crowd because the mall was anchored by Sears and Macy's. Macy's is still there. But you didn't, a lot of people don't even go in there. That's affecting the environment. And that affects you. How does that affect people who work in the restaurants that are still there or other small stores that are there? You don't get as many people. So it's like, how does that affect their lifestyle if they can't work there or make as much money there? It affects other businesses. There were like little kiosks that were there for years and stuff. In fact, at that same mall, there was an Asian restaurant there. And they had been there for years. My sons used to like to eat there. I wasn't as big a fan. But I remember they went out of business. I was like, wow. But that affected their lifestyle because that affected their business because how could they work there? People weren't coming in as much. And that's just a tiny thing. Think about it just around the country. Think about the lifestyle changes. If the environment, like say you have a small town, they have a major store, major industry or some factory or something like that. In fact, in this country, when you have factories moving overseas, there's a lot of towns that went down because that was the main business. That's the environment. And just think about the overall environment. Think about like a fish in water. A fish in water. If you're going to want to see how the fish is behaving, you got to know, okay, what's in the water with that fish? Could be a predator, some type of predator that likes fish. But take that predator away, boom. I'll end with this. I remember seeing a brief documentary about introducing wolves to Yellowstone Park and how those wolves changed everything just by the introduction, The environment as it is, we have to pay attention. How will it affect everything? Let me know what y'all have seen out here. This is deep thought. Like I said, it's not just I'm just presenting something, y'all listen, y'all like or dislike it. It's about having y'all think as well. What do y'all see out here? What kind of things you've seen? What changes you're seeing in the environment? All right. So anyway, changes in the environment. What type of lifestyle changes? What type of lifestyle changes have you made? So anyway, that's all I got for now. I want y'all to think on this and let me know what you think. Peace and blessings, everyone.